because you already moved to a new country where you don't belong.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to learn the language, you need to navigate the new system, a new job. So being able to come back home is like going back to your refuge, to your safe space, where you actually recognize yourself and you identify with your own home as well. So that's quite important.
Yeah. This episode of Melting Pot is brought to you by AD Club, which is a private members club and showroom for architects and interior designers who work on high-end residential and hospitality projects. It was founded by Fede Switch and Light, which is a Spanish brand specializing in luxury design switches, and is supported by a curated group of leading brands in the sector with the aim of providing comprehensive solutions for design projects. Hi everyone, and specifically hello Nicla.
Hello.
I am so happy to be talking to you today in this absolutely beautiful space, which we will also talk about a little later. So you are Nicla Diceglie.
Yeah, it's not an easy one. It's not an easy one.
Thank you so much for being a part of Melting Pot. Nicla, I'm so curious to learn about you, about your work, and about the concept of how color impacts the interiors of people's home, people's well-being, and we basically have a lot to talk about.
Yes, so you have to stop me, because when I start talking about biophilic design, I can go on and
no,
on.
which is good, because biophilic design is also something that is a very new term, and a lot of people are still trying to understand what it is, what the implications are. So I think it'll be very interesting for me as well as for all the viewers and the listeners to know a little bit about it, because I think we take color for granted, we take design for granted, and with your expertise, maybe today people will go away with a little more awareness and a little more information about it. So let's maybe start, we should backtrack a little bit and start from your childhood. You're Italian. Now you've lived in different parts of the world, and now you live in Spain.
Yeah.
So what was your childhood like growing up? And did that, because living in Italy, in nature, it's just so gorgeous. You're surrounded by the feeling of openness, of beauty. I wonder so how was your growing up? That's one.
Yes.
And I wonder if that really impacted your philosophy in terms of your career choice.
Yes. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. It's really a pleasure to be here and sharing with you and your listeners my story and about biophilic design. So to go back to your question, my childhood. Yes, I was born and raised in the south of Italy, in a region called Puglia, which is at the moment it's really popular for tourists. And I always lived in a house with a garden, and especially in summer we would move to another house, which was a countryside house, and I was wild. And when I say wild, I have these lovely memories of my childhood, going around in the countryside barefoot, with simply something not like a top, and then playing in just like building tree houses, or just going around and picking fruit in the countries. And our childhood was very different from nowadays. So we were free to go around and play with our friends in nature. So I guess that had a great impact on my design philosophy, because then when I moved to UK, obviously the lifestyle was totally different. And one big factor is the weather.
Yeah.
Obviously, because coming from a Mediterranean country in the south of Italy, it was hot most of the time. We didn't have much rain, and we are used as a Mediterranean country, as well as Spain, for example, to spend a lot of time outdoors.
Sunshine,
blue sky, and in the nature. I've always been connected to nature. There's been a part of my life until I moved to England. Clearly, the colder weather, the wet weather, didn't allow me to spend a lot of time outdoor, and at the moment, like everyone spend most of the time, 90% of our life indoor, be at home, in the office, gym, restaurant, you name it. And I was feeling like this lack of connection with nature. And I just mentioned something briefly because I don't want to go too much in depth, but there's been a part of my life that I consider the dark part of my life, where I burn out because of work. I've been really depressed, and I stayed at home without working. And it's when it really clicked that my environment, my house, wasn't supporting me, because I was surrounded by light gray walls, very dull space, and I was like, okay, this is not working. Secondly, we got a dog while I wasn't well, and I started going out to the park 2-3 times a day. So that increased, like, first of all, it made me feel better. I started to be connected again with people and my neighbors, and to enjoy the park, the outdoor more. So it's everything fall in the right place, like a little puzzle, that everything happened at the right time. And at the same time, I came across a seminar about biophilic design, which we're going to explain better later. Yeah. So that's how I clicked. It's like first-hand experience, how important our space is where we live or we work, and how important is connecting to nature to feel better. So this is like a little bit on my life story and how I come to what I now call bold biophilic design, which is my design philosophy. So yes.
Okay, so yes, a lot of times your personal experiences actually impact the kind of decisions that you make. And I guess being an expat, you've experienced, like you mentioned, not being connected to nature when you were living in the UK, and that the way it impacted you, and it was your dark period. So I want to understand from you, biophilic is something that we will go into detail with because I'm really curious, but I just want to understand from an expat perspective, what do, in your experience working with expats all over the world to creating their homes, what is the one common factor that you hear from them, and how have you encouraged people to change that perception? Has it been easy? Because I have had a transient life as well, just like from the day I was born. So I completely understand how that works. But without getting into what my philosophy is, I feel that I'd like to understand from you, what kind of reactions do you normally get? Because people live in rented homes. And they think, oh, it's a rented home, we're here for 2 years, we're going to go away to another country or whatever, why bother?
Yes.
But those 2 years
count.
They count, because then you're not really feeling and experiencing, right? So so just a little take on what has just been the general feedback that you get, and how have you managed to change that perception?
Yes, most of the time my clients, what they found difficult is to feel at home in a country and in a new house, in a new home and a new country. So in a way, and I say we because I'm an expat as well, we want to take a little bit of ourselves or our culture, our country, wherever we're living. So sometimes, I can give an example. In England, I work with an Indian couple. They bought a new house, and as all the new houses, it was a blank canvas. So it was really dull. There wasn't much.
So I have a quick question.
Yes.
Sorry. So you mainly work with people who buy homes? Or
No,
also rentals?
No, I work
Okay.
as well with people that are renting.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. Just this example is
Yeah,
because
sorry, go
it's
ahead.
a
Yeah.
very good example to explain. They were living in this White House. They had to wait a couple of years until the wall were dry to paint or to do any work. So they contacted me, and a lovely thing I noticed that this little altar in the kitchen with all their the religious statues and everything. And the first thing she said, "Oh, for me it's really important to have something that reminds me of my home." I was like, yeah, absolutely. She said, "I've got really precious furniture from my grandma. They came from India." She said, "I don't want to get rid of it." I said, "We don't have to. So we're gonna find a way to buy new furniture, but to integrate that." And the other thing, she said, "I want colors." Obviously, made in India.
Correct.
Full of bold colors, the oranges, the fuchsia, the green, the yellow. And she was like desperately needing that, because obviously you can imagine that there isn't much of light in England because most of the time it's cloudy. So the first thing, she was asking for colors. And they needed my help because a lot of people, they don't feel they can choose the right color. They may have some ideas, but then they go, "Will it look good? What do you think? Do you think this is too much?" Or they play it safe. They go with neutral color, beige, grayish, because it's like, okay, it's gonna look good. But actually, with my client, when I showed them how it's gonna look like with bold colors in the visual, in the 3D, their first reaction is, wow. They go, "I would have never done that myself." But once they can visualize it with the 3D, with the visuals that I create, they can actually see it around. And it's like, oh my God, I love it. So one thing in common is that, first of all, people are scared to use colors, bold colors. They don't know maybe how to use them. And secondly, everyone really wants a little bit of their culture, of their own home in the new house. And talking about people that are renting, most of the time we think, oh, I can't do anything because it's rented. It's not true, because if you ask the landlord, most of the time they allow you to paint the wall as far as you leave them white when you leave.
Yeah.
There are peel and stick wallpaper that you can put on the wall and can remove when you go away.
Yeah.
So there are some tricks, some options, and then maybe you don't need to invest a lot, but you can still make it nicer with the accessories, the curtains you buy, the cushion. Maybe buying a sofa, there's no black or gray, it's orange like this one.
Yeah.
It's like maybe using a statement piece that gives character. And so we can always play around with rented houses as well. There is not a major problem.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So what I hear you say here is that basically, as an expat, people like to, or what you encourage people to do, is to bring in a part of their culture.
Yes.
So into their home,
Yes.
so that they are then feeling connected with their home, and at the same time they are able to, there is a sense of warmth and a sense of belonging within their home. Okay, yeah.
And identity as
and
well.
identity.
Identity
yes.
is a key factor.
Yeah.
Because you already moved to a new country where you don't belong.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to learn the language, you need to navigate the new system, a new job. So being able to come back home is like going back to your refuge, to your safe space, where you actually recognize yourself and you identify with your own home as well. So that's quite important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's move on to biophilic design.
Yes. Yes.
Which is I can see that you're so connected with it.
Yes.
And because it's something that a lot of people are not aware of, I would like you to, through this platform, educate them.
Yes. So biophilic design. Let's start with explaining what biophilia means. Biophilia comes from Latin and means love of life. And the biophilic hypothesis has been, it's been shared for the first time by an American biologist, Edward Wilson, who's in his own book called Biophilia. He describes biophilia like the natural affinity that humans have with a living being and nature. So if you think about it, before the Industrial Revolution, we were connected with nature. We were living in the countryside with agriculture, and most of our time was outdoor. After the Industrial Revolution, what happened? That people moved from the countryside to the city. We started working in factories, offices, and now our lifestyle changed completely.
Yeah.
So we start spending more time indoor than outdoor. And we do spend the 90% of our time indoor. So why is biophilic design important? Because the end goal of biophilic design is to reconnect people with nature. So our body as human beings, we are programmed to live in nature, not to live in an enclosed space. So when we bring the outdoor in, our body instantly reacts to it and we feel at ease. So using biophilic design in interior design means following some, I wouldn't say rules, but a way of designing that reconnects people with nature, introducing a direct connection to nature, which can be a plant, for example. It's one of the direct connection. Or what we call indirect connection to nature. What is it? Is maybe having a piece of art, like a painting, representing the seaside, representing a tree, something natural, because our brain instantly connects to that and it starts to relax. So it's been proven, and biophilic design is research based, that being exposed to nature has a lot of benefit on our well-being. For example, it improves our mood, and for example, in England, GP, the doctors, to depressed people recommend to start gardening. Why? Because you spend more time outdoor, and also because the soil, when you don't use any glove, you get in touch with the soil. So it contains a natural antidepressant substance that through our hands gets directly into our bloodstream. So it lifts up the morale, the mood. Plus, being exposed to the sunshine also it has a big impact on how we feel.
Yeah.
If you think, if it's rainy and dark, you feel a bit depressed.
Yeah.
If it's a good day, sunshine, blue sky, you always feel lifted up.
Yeah.
So going back to introduce biophilic design to our indoor space, be it at home, hotels, workplace, co-working spaces, offices, a shop, anywhere really, has the function to reconnect people with nature and improve our well-being. So I hope I made it very easy to understand.
Yeah.
And then,
so at what point did you decide to introduce biophilic design into your work?
that's a good question, because when I started with biophilic design, so I have a background in project management, so I've been working in offices, corporate for a long time. Then I wasn't well, I left the job and I started studying interior design. And I went to a seminar in London, in Chelsea. One of the tutors of my school was actually talking about biophilic design with a lot of lovely images. And I started to connect. It really resonated with me because coming from the south of Italy, everything the tutor was explaining was really normal to me. It was like, yes, of course. Something really that I remember, she was saying, it's really good to open the window to let fresh air in, make sure that the natural lights enter your space as much as you can. And I was like, of course, my mom every morning was opening the window. But again, I was coming from the south of Italy.
Yeah.
Living in UK, it was a total different story. Because it's not really usual that you open the window because maybe it's raining. So for me, it was like, oh my God, yes, everything she was saying really resonated with me. So I went back home, I started Googling it, biophilic design, what is it? And I found loads of white paper, loads of research. There is a word out there about biophilic design. I started reading and I had to niche down my business. It was the beginning of my business. My coach said, oh, maybe you can talk about Italian design, which was a good idea, but it was like overrated. There were so many people talking about Italian design. Yes, okay, I'm Italian, but I wanted to add value. And then I said, this is it, biophilic design. So I started reading. There is, at the moment, anywhere where they teach biophilic design. It's not teach at university, not yet, as far as I know. So maybe they touch point, but it's not a proper course. And during COVID, someone in UK, which is an architect, created an online course about biophilic design. And I did it. I was like, yes, that's exactly what I needed. I did it. I'm a certified biophilic designer. And then I started implementing my design till the point that I found something missing, because I love bold colors and I studied color psychology as well. And it was like, okay, biophilic design, it looks like there is a lot of neutral color, maybe some sage green. But I was like, can I use bold color and combine the two things? So I said, why not? There are so many bold colors in nature.
Exactly.
And color is part of biophilic design as well. So I create my own design philosophy, which is bold biophilic design, where I use both my knowledge of color psychology and biophilic design to create environment that I call happy and healthy. Happy because of the color of the bold color, and healthy because we're trying to use natural material and introduce as much nature as possible. So that's how I come across, and that's how I develop.
That's how you've also combined your color philosophy with. Okay, yeah, no, that's very interesting. And before we talk about, because I know that you've mentioned that you've created a course.
Yes, I did.
And so we'll talk about that. But before that, I wanted to understand from you, in your knowledge, are there any countries specifically that you know of that are very, maybe not entirely, not the whole country, but there are aspects of the country where they are looking at biophilic design and they've created something which you've been able to look at and learn from?
Yes, biophilic design is well known in US, for example, but one country that I think, let's say, it's the symbol, I would say, of probably of biophilic design, also because there's been a lot of research done there, is Singapore. And I would love to mention that one of the examples that were given to us when we were studying biophilic design is an amazing hospital in Singapore, which is called, I have to read this because I will never learn.
And you mentioned it to me and I'm like, where is this hospital?
Yeah, it's called the Khoo Teck Puat. I hope I pronounce it correctly.
Okay.
So that hospital, why is different? Because we have the idea of hospital in the West countries is really clinical, really cold, really white, maybe a bit of blue sometimes, but really cold. This hospital is amazing because there is greenery everywhere. So rooftop with greenery. They've created massive gardens where patients can go and spend time. Its shape is particular because it's a V shape that helps the natural ventilation of the hospital.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
What else? They have water fountains. So all these are natural elements that have been brought into the architecture to help patients recover quicker. And there's been a research and experiment done in this hospital where they took 10 patients that they put in a side of the hospital where is the typical hospital we know. The clinical, cold, ascetic space, I would say. And the other 10, they were exposed to greenery, they had their window on the garden, they would spend 20 minutes a day outside, outdoor, maybe they had some flowers. And what they found out is that those 10 people, being in the greenery area, and the greener area of the hospital, recover faster. They needed less treatment. Their morale was much better, and we know that when you are happier, you recover better as well. So it was so evident what was the difference, and nature was the difference.
And which is what Singapore has. It's a small country, but and a very young country. But I think the philosophy of bringing in nature you're in the middle of the city, you're walking through a nature reserve, how shall I put it, the amalgamation of nature with an urban setting.
Yeah.
I think no other country in the world has been able to do it like the way Singapore has. So I feel proud of the fact that I can also refer to myself as someone who has been embraced by Singapore. So when I talk about the home that I have in Singapore, it's out of every window there are trees. And so when you talk about uplifting and the energy that you get out of it, I think and I'm like I can vouch for it, because every single time, every morning when you wake up, you wake up and you see this gorgeous tree. You'll hear, and this is not just one window, it's every single window in the house. You hear birds,
exactly.
It's that natural nature
background is the natural
background, and that's what you just feel so connected with. So it's very interesting that you mentioned Singapore, and I encouraged you to do it as well. And I also know that I'm not sure whether it's a part of the biophilic design, but one of the terminals at the airport, of the airport terminals, also has
a wooden structure. Is that what you're referring to? That looks like a tree. Nearly?
Yes. And there are fountains and things like that. So
and that's all part. Sorry if I interrupt. That's all part of the principle biophilic design.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So that's interesting, and you can see how I can not just see, but I can imagine how your life changed after that dark period when you came in to the understanding of biophilic design. So let's talk about your course, the one that you've created.
So when I moved to Spain, while I was furnishing my house and stuff like that, I created this online course where I teach my own design philosophy, which is bold biophilic design, and it's a pre-recorded course where anyone that started, they can do in their own time, because I did ask a lot of interior designer and people, and they prefer that because it's more like flexible, easy to fit in our life. And there are 7 modules. Every module is a topic. Obviously, the first one starting with explaining what biophilic design here is and talking about the 14 patterns of biophilic design and so on. And then every module develops my concept of bold biophilic design. So there is a module, for example, about color psychology. The last module is about plants, because lots of people ask me about plants. So I create a module where I list the easy maintenance plant, why this plant is good to have, and how to care for it. And this addressed to both professionals, interior designers,
and homemakers.
Interior enthusiasts, someone that says, oh, I love this, and maybe I want to introduce in my own home, so they can do it as well. And it's online, but what we do every 2 weeks, there is a live video call where I meet with the students and we discuss the previous module, so they can ask any question if they want to discuss anything in particular. I have also a private group on Facebook where anyone can write or post anything, share their knowledge, ask questions. In the course, there is a lot of books I recommend to read, white papers, information that I found that I share with the students. It's really for someone I talk about professional now, someone that wants to learn and differentiate their own studio, creating a very particular niche, which is within biophilic design. This course is just ideal because they will have some further skills that other maybe interior designer don't have. And if I can touch a quick point here, every year I go to the Biophilic Design Conference in London, and every year the more we talk about it and the more the architecture, not just interior design, is moving from trends to well-being. Well-being, it's becoming very important when we build environment or where we design interior spaces. So having that knowledge is like having a step, being like a step forward already compared to other interior designer. In my case, I studied it probably 6-7 years ago, so it was really new, but I fell in love with it. So it's now what I'm trying with this course is to share with people how important the benefits are, how much biophilic design can do, and also because I want to educate as more people as possible, as many people as possible about it.
And help expand the community of people who, like you mentioned, who are either interior enthusiasts or who are professionally interior designers, to be able to get that as a part of their designing concept is very interesting. So anyone who wants to do the course, if you can give some socials or however they can connect with you.
It's really easy. You can go to my website, is www.studionicla, which is nicla.com, and there is a page called education, and there is the course there, so you can just click and have a look at what every module is. And there is also a guarantee, like after 2 weeks, if someone decided that this is not for me, this money guarantee. I didn't have anyone so far asking for that, which is good. But just to be on the safe side, if people say, I thought it was something different, or I don't like it, I don't need it, whatever, I return the money within 14 days. And so yes, it's easy. Go on the website, and there is also an option there that if you want to have a quick chat with me about the course, you can book a video call, 30 minutes, where you can ask me directly any question. We can talk about it. So I think it's quite easy to get information about it. So I would invite anyone interested to go on the website and look for the education page.
Perfect. So you've heard it right from Nicla. And I would absolutely encourage whoever's interested to sign up for her course. And thank you so much, Nicla. I've so enjoyed listening to you and chatting with you. And I think your purpose now is very clear to me, and I'm sure it's clear to everyone else. And it's also encouraging people who want to get into biophilic design, but who don't know how to get a better understanding of it through this conversation. So once again, thank you so much for being a part of Melting Pot.
Thank you very much, Payal, because you gave me this opportunity, and it's not easy sometimes to find opportunity where to talk about this. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and I hope your listeners enjoyed this chat, and yes, we gave something useful as well.
And that's the whole purpose of the show, is to be able to give something and to be able to create an impact. And I'm pretty certain that this conversation has done it or will do it.
So I hope so.
Thank you once again.
Thanks to you. Thank you, everyone.